No, that's
season.
that's
Seasoning.
yeah, but I can't think of the word. What is it? It's
Flavor.
marinate. It's not marinate. Anyway, sanctified. That means to be holy, or to set aside for holy. I'm sorry, my bad. Set aside. Okay, so God is holy when we become saved because of what He did. Jesus died for us. When we accept that, we become saved. We also become sanctified, but that word sanctified means to set apart for God's use. That means if you want to serve God with everything that you are, and we should be, we ask God to help us resist the things that used to bother us. And that way, we can focus on Him. You know, sometimes things happen, like, let's say Isaac back there has a real hard time with bad language. I'm not saying he does, I'm just using an example, okay? Let's say he has a problem with real bad language, and he got saved and he wants to live for God. And he asks God to please take away that me wanting to say those words that I know that they're not pleasing. So God hears his prayer, and God does answer the prayer. But you know, guess what He expects Isaac to do? He expects all of us to do. When we ask Him to help us to do something, that means if we had friends who use those kind of language, we don't go back around those kind of, okay? If you're with them and they start using language, say, hey, you got to draw a line here. I can't do this. And you do the right thing. Every time you resist something, it gets a little easier. So one day, when Isaac he don't even have those thoughts in his mind anymore. That's when we become very usable for God. Let's say Miss Dean has a real problem with tomatoes, and she can't walk by a tomato without eating it. But she knows that they're bad for her, so she wants to stop. Well, if you say, God, help me with the tomato, but then you go right back to the tomato, what happens? You know why God don't do it? Because He gives you a choice. You have to make the choice. He can't make you, He will not override your choice. That's because He loves us so much that He's not going to make us do it. He wants us to do it because we love Him. Okay? So, okay, how about this? When you want to give up bad things, like, and I know y'all all heard about Miley Cyrus and the video. I hope nobody has seen that. Maybe some of you have. It was on one of the music award shows. It was a very vulgar dance, and I know a lot of y'all know her from Hannah Montana and stuff like that. And it was a real disappointment for a lot of people to see that. But you have to remember, Miley Cyrus, I've never heard her claim to be a Christian. And sometimes you do stuff because you want to make a lot of money, and in our day we call it selling out. That means, you know, doing something for money even though you didn't agree with it. Being sanctified, asking God for the power to overcome things like that, we have to refrain from those things. When I was a kid, church people, mostly all the denominations, didn't even allow you to go to the movies. And I'm talking about movies, like, for the most part, like Western, like cowboys and Indians. You know, there was nothing bad in it. The language was not bad. The stories were pretty good, but they didn't want you to be even associated with movies. So they kind of, you know, put that in place that you didn't go. Or in the Church of God, the Pentecostal churches, like, when I was a kid, you could have never wore shorts in church. But you know what? Even those things that the church did and done stuff like that they were doing it with the best interest, but you have to make those choices yourself, okay? If you know that it's going to give you a hard time to do something, you can't do it. You have to not do it. But this is the good part about God. If you mess up, all you have to do is come back and say, God, I'm sorry, I blew it. And He always forgives you, always. So let's think about that. Sometimes when we're in school, maybe some of you experience this, I know I do at work. You're tempted to be like when you're working around people who don't go to church or who are not Christians. You may be tempted to fall into the way they're doing. But I'm telling you, they are looking at you to make a stand because they need to know how. Okay? So if you're at school and somebody says, yo, Bradley, let's smoke this cigarette behind the building, you got to say no. Or if you say, let's eat this cake over here at the lunchroom where you won't ever see it. No, we can't do those things. You have to, if you get at a weak moment, you can't make that decision. You pray right then and say, Lord, help me make this the right choice. And He always will. Right now we're going to pray. I want everybody to remember we have several people who are parents, grandparents who want Gage and Carl's grandfather has cancer, and we still remember to keep praying for him. And also remember all the ones who are here. I think Kayla's got a little bit of a cold, and so let's remember